Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to this episode of What You Would Miss. Today, I have with me a very special guest. Of course, they're all special, but Daniel and I have been friends for a really long time in the advocacy world, and I'm super happy to have him on. And his story is impactful and it's powerful, and I can't wait to share it with you. Daniel, welcome to What Would You Miss? I'm so glad that you're here and you fixed your hair and you look fantastic.
Hi, yes, thank you. I'll admit, I with staying home, it seems like I forgot how many things I'm part of and belong to. So my calendar gets full, and then I forget to check my calendar. I think it's denial. I don't want to see the work that I have to do for the day, and I kind of forgot this morning, but I combed it out a little bit.
You look great. You look great. So Daniel, can you just tell us a little bit about you and, how you came into advocacy and a little bit about your story? You can kind of do the condensed version because let's admit it, you got a really long story.
Yeah, funny thing is I was just looking through some stuff this morning before we started, and I realized how far back my advocacy work starts. To sum it up, I was diagnosed with AIDS in September of 2000, and didn't know. As a gay man, I was 30 years old, almost 30, and didn't really know a lot about HIV and AIDS, which is a problem still today. A lot of people still don't know about HIV and AIDS. My advocacy work started because my family was very conservative, Latinas, uh, religious, Catholic. There was no talk about sexuality or sex. So my first advocacy group, or the people that I talked to, was my family. I had to teach them about HIV and AIDS. And this was January 2001, February. Then I was kind of put out into talking to students at a college down in South Texas. I volunteered for an agency. And that kind of just put the ball rolling, I guess. Started talking to more groups, really got excited about talking to students about HIV and AIDS. And I'm a ham for attention, so it was perfect. Not only did I get the attention that I so needed, but I was doing something that I thought was a positive thing. It was teaching Latinos about HIV and AIDS. I moved from South Texas back to Houston, did some work there, moved to California in 2009, continued doing work here in Laguna Beach where I live. 2015, I was diagnosed with anal cancer. So that added a new chapter to my story, how HIV and cancers were related. So that grew. In 2016, I had my colostomy surgery. So that added another chapter, not to mention dealing with anxiety and agoraphobia, depression, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, coming out very young. I was 17 when I was outed. So all these, oh my God, that's a tragic story. That's like a Mexican novela waiting to happen right there.
Yes. And you said a couple things that just made me laugh. You command attention, and you definitely do. And I think that's really why you're so amazing in your advocacy, because yes, you're talking about an extremely heavy, really intense subject matter at times. You do it in a way that makes people feel comfortable. And that is huge. And I want to talk a little bit about what you first said. I loved that sentence. My first advocacy group was my family. And talking to your family is so difficult, especially when it has to do with depression and suicide and, HIV and LGBTQ, like all of that stuff is so hard. How did you do that? Like, how can you tell us how you talk to your family? Because what you said about your family, the fact that they're conservative, that they're religious, and they're Latinas. So that's a very difficult background of people to speak to, and they're separately. Together, it's like, whoa. So how did you do that?
Well, when I was given my diagnosis, I was in the hospital in Houston, and my family was there with me. My sister, I have two sisters. One of them was there, my mom and my dad. And the doctor wanted them to leave the room, and I was like, hey, it's my family, let them stay. I knew what was coming. I had an idea. So when the word AIDS was said, my mom doesn't speak English. My dad was didn't understand a whole lot. So my sister was translating it, and I kind of had to translate. So The only thing that we knew, and this is 2000, the only thing that my family knew was HIV/AIDS. It's the same thing. It's contagious. We're all going to die. Like,
Right.
he's just a ball of infection and he's going to infect us all. Um, it
That
took
must
a
have
little
been so
while.
scary. Like that must
Yeah.
just that the diagnosis is heavy enough. Like having your family feel that way must have been really
Yeah, because
exhausting.
I was pushed aside from a lot of the family members. Like my sister's, I had to go live with my sister because I was too sick to care of myself. But there was always this guilt that I had that they couldn't live their lives the way that they wanted to because of me.
Right.
And to this day, I think I overdo doing things for people because I still carry that guilt in my head.
Oh, guilt's a dirty little weapon, isn't it?
Oh my God. It's like that evil ex-wife that never wants to leave. And I'm gay, so that's even worse, having an ex-wife. But uh, quick story: I was volunteering at an agency in South Texas, Valley AIDS Council, and we had a bingo day like every other Friday, and we had a potluck, and we would invite the family members to come in and join us, so they could learn about HIV and AIDS. And between games, there would be some education stuff. So my sister got pregnant, and I would invite her to come join us, but she was scared that she, being pregnant, she was going to get infected. I just got chills. She finally came to one. She finally came to a game day, and she met other family members of people who were HIV positive,
Right.
and she met the coordinator, and she got informed. And all it took, and I say this to people all the time: don't worry about like teaching your whole family. Focus on one
Right.
person. Focus
Oh,
on
that's great
one,
advice.
and then that's your niche. That's your door. If you get one person on your side, the rest will start rolling in because they're like, oh, and of course I went for the Latina mom pregnant woman. Get them while they're down. Like, I got you. She can't run fast. She'll hear me. And but it worked. Eventually, the family started getting educated. I would bring pamphlets home and they would read them. And that,
I think that's a really good piece of advice, even for depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts, to find that one family member, because you're so right. You don't need an entire audience. If you can get that one person that you can talk to, the rest do kind of fall into play afterwards.
yeah.
How did your depression and your suicidal thoughts play into all of those diagnoses? I mean, it must have been because we talk about a lot in our world of advocacy with chronic illness and chronic pain. Like, people don't understand that there comes a level of depression just naturally. So if you, like, for me, I had suicidal thoughts and depression before I was diagnosed with anything, and now you add that layer to it, and my God, how do you not? It's a recipe for disaster. And you, my friend, had a lot of layers.
There's a lot of disaster in
You
my
were like
story.
a taco salad.
Girl, if I were a taco in form, I'd be like something you get at a Chinese buffet. They never get a taco at a Chinese buffet. That's my story.
Yeah.
So yeah, depression. Okay, so once I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression, I started through therapy looking back in my life and realized that I was depressed and suicidal and anxious way before I even realized it, like all the way back to my teenage years. And I never really knew I was agoraphobic. I just thought I just thought, for those of you that know me, I practice my spirituality and I'm very in tune with my intuitiveness. So I always thought, oh, it's my gut. My gut's telling me, don't go, don't leave the house. So I wouldn't go, I wouldn't leave. But I remember doing that when I was young. I just got chills again. I remember doing that when I was young. And then I found out that it was hereditary. And I'm like, thank you, Mom, for leaving me there. Like, she could have left me the jewels, but no.
Eye color would have been fine.
You know, just my mom had beautiful clothes too, so I could have handled the clothes. But I go back and look at things my mom did. And I was just talking about this a couple of days ago. My mom would make excuses to not leave the house. I would have to kind of drag her out. But I think I used her as an anchor. I'm like, if she goes, I go. If she doesn't go,
Right.
I don't go. And I think now in her head, she was like, if he pushes me, I'll go. If not, I won't go. My mom had a lot of depressive moments in her life. And I looking back in her life, I can pinpoint them now,
Wow.
which made me look back at my life and realize that first relationship I was in, how even when things were great, I still didn't feel happy. And I felt so guilty. I was like, damn it, I have a good job, a great boyfriend. We have a great apartment. We have great friends. Life is awesome.
But
What's missing? What is missing? And then I would feel guilty for feeling that, which would cause more anxiety, which would get me more panicky, then adds to the depression. It's like you're putting, like, you're trying to weigh.
It's a cycle. It's a sick cycle. Yeah.
It's like rocks against feathers, and you're wondering why it doesn't measure up, and you're like, what's going on? Cancer.
One thing, wait, before you go farther than that, one thing I think is really important. I think this conversation has a lot of layers to it, but coming out LGBT, you said you came out young, you were outed at 17.
Yeah.
The LGBT community is suffering dramatically with depression and suicide, like high levels that I can't even read because it's so intense to me. And I understand why. And I think you're giving some really, really good advice in that area. Picking that one family member, I said about suicide, but picking that one family member that you can come out to even that right there is a enormous piece of advice to somebody. What was it like coming out to your family, and how did you do that?
Well, I was outed. So rumors started flowing through the family. And this is very cliche. It happened over a Thanksgiving weekend. So there you go. In Mexico.
A Hallmark movie waiting to happen.
Girl, I'm a novela waiting to happen.
Yeah,
Let's write the script. Let's get together and write the script. So I was 17. I had a moment with somebody. Somebody else found out. It started spreading through the family, and all these rumors came out. That was my first time that I considered suicide, because the way that I was outed was so nasty, and because everybody already thought I was gay and nobody thought about this other person possibly being gay, I was the villain in the story. I was the one that did wrong, even though the backstory is I was propositioned and I was a horny 17-year-old kid. I'm like, it's like you're putting this dish in front of me after I've been starved for a week. I'm like, I'm going to eat it. No pun intended. So when I was outed, my mom, who I was very close to, and she has Alzheimer's now, but I was very close to up until when she started forgetting things. She was disappointed in me. The one thing she told me is like, I'm not mad that you're gay. I'm mad that you didn't trust me enough to tell me.
Wow, that's powerful.
And I thought, wow, like because there were always times when she was like, is there anything you want to tell me? Is there anything you want to tell me? And as soon as she would say that, I had a new girlfriend. I had a girlfriend in school, and I showed him, here's my mom, here's my girlfriend. And then a week later, my mom would forget and I'd break up. And then the next time my mom was like, well, what happened to the girl? Oh, I'm dating somebody new. Here's another girlfriend. And that was so much stress on a 16, 17-year-old kid.
Absolutely.
So when my mom told me that she was disappointed that I didn't trust her enough, it really hurt me. And I'm like, my mom's my ally. She's the one that defended me against anything. Like, I've lost my only connection to my family. And that was the first time. Of course, I was too naive and dumb to know. So I tried to kill myself with aspirin, which the only thing it did was take away a headache and make me throw up. So that's, for those of you out there, don't do the aspirin thing. It doesn't work.
Don't do it, period.
Not that I'm condoning it. No. People are like, what is he talking about? Yeah, don't take a bunch of aspirin. It does nothing for you.
So actually, what you just said is, I want to say one thing. Daniel is joking because humor helps everybody. And while some people might watch this, I have to put this out there because it's very important. Some people might watch this and be like, how could he joke about that? Humor helps people. We have to respect that humor helps people. It doesn't help everybody. Absolutely. Daniel is a caring, loving man, and I know that he would never want anyone to like check out. Don't do that. His point being is he needs to find humor in this, and I totally agree with you.
And my anxiety has been in control because of my humor. When I was in the hospital when I was diagnosed by the doctor, he's talking about medications and treatments, and I'm like, because I had lost most of my hair, I'm like, will my hair grow back and can I walk out of here? And he was like, yes, but you realize that like this is a lifetime thing. I'm like, cool. There's medications, there's doctors. Will I get my hair back and can I walk out of here? And he was like, I don't think you're understanding the gravity of the situation. I'm like, I don't think you're understanding the gravity of my situation. And this is almost 20 years ago. And I honestly believe that my lack of taking the situation serious helped me not become a victim.
Absolutely.
And helped me get to where I am today. And yes, life sucks. And I tell people life sucks. It's what you make with it. Life isn't good or bad. It's just life. And however you make of it, it's the results you're going to get. And I chose early on. I still get depressed. I still get anxious.
Well, depression, you don't just snap out of it. Like when you've been diagnosed with depression, this is a lifelong thing and you need to use your tools.
Yes. See, it's even barking right now. My depression is so strong. But see how I worked that in there? See how we made that work?
I really appreciate you working the barking.
You're welcome. You want to go? People are going, what are they talking about? You have to see the blooper reel at some point and you'll get the idea. So after cancer, I was home for about 1.5 years without driving, without really going anywhere. Mm-hmm. I had anal cancer, and that really stopped me from driving and being really active. So when I finally had to start getting out on my own, it was sweats and panic. And like right before I walk out the door, I needed to clean the fridge. Let's clean the fridge. And my boyfriend was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I need to clean the fridge. He's like, we need to go. I'm like, but the fridge. And he's like, shut up. Or I had to answer an email or I had to make a phone call. And he was like, what are you doing?
And that's your PTSD kicking in. Like that's really what it is. But no one puts a label on that because they don't always think PTSD is for military patients or military people, but that's not it.
Finally, my doctor is the one that said, he's like, you have PTSD. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm not in the military. I'm not an officer. I'm not a policeman. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, you have health-related PTSD. Your body has been through so much that your mind instantly wants to protect you from any harm. And I almost bled out and died at one point during my recuperation after cancer. And that was it. I was having such a great moment right before I had to go to the emergency room that my brain, I talked to a therapist about this, my brain associates a good time and leaving the house with something bad happening. So if I don't leave my house and I'm in constant depression and I'm sad and I feel guilty and I don't enjoy life, then nothing bad is going to happen. I know people are listening going, what the hell? It's like, I'll take in all the bad so that something bad doesn't happen. Like I'll feel miserable.
This is a normal occurrence with people with suicidal thoughts, especially. So they're living a really great life and something is going good at that point. And they want to shut it down before something bad happens. And that's why this is March and April are considered suicide season because so many people have made it through the holidays and now it's springtime and the flowers are blooming and people are out more and, they're starting to feel a little lighter. And then all of a sudden the panic sets in like, oh my God, this can't be real. This can't be really happening to me. Something bad's going to happen. I need to die. I get it. So what you just said, I can totally relate to. I do want to ask you a kind of pointed question. If you could go back and tell that 17-year-old boy who was, had those aspirin in his hands and felt that immense disappointment from his mother, because honestly, a lot of kids feel that disappointment that's not even really there. And your mother probably didn't really mean she was disappointed. She probably just was really sad that you couldn't reach out to her, but doesn't articulate it in that way. But if you could tell yourself something, knowing everything you've been through, if you could say something to that 17-year-old Daniel, what would you say to yourself?
How dare you want to make me cry this early in the morning? I need to go out, and if my mascara runs, this is horrible. Wow. Um, if I could go back and talk to 17-year-old Daniel, well, I was almost a senior in high school, and I was a dancer, and I wanted to be an actor, and I wanted to have a boyfriend. And I remember sitting in my room. I lived with my sister in Mexico at the time, and I was in my room, and her and I were at odds because she was very religious at the time, and I was going to hell. That was so. I would tell him, I know this is going to sound really stupid, but that was such an important lesson to me, that moment with the aspirin. I would say, once you wake up from this, once you're done throwing up, go live. Don't be scared of what people are going to say. Don't let anybody stop you. Trust your talent, because you're going to have to wait 20 years to realize who you really are. And I don't want you to wait that long, because I ended up getting clean and sober when I was almost 37. So I wouldn't stop him from doing what he did, because knowing now is like, it wasn't going to kill him. It was just, it was the lesson that I needed, because it definitely did put a little spark in my life, but it also made me very fearful. And
because you're looking right over that edge. I mean, that's what
oh my God.
And to have an awakening is important.
It took me a long time to recapture that energy that I had at that time. I was the double dare kid.
Yeah.
Dare me to do it.
Yeah.
You don't have to dare me. I dare myself to do it. Like, and I would tell him, just don't lose that spark. I was an awesome kid. And it took me a long time to find him again. So I would tell him that whatever happens right now, don't lose the spark.
I love that. And I didn't mean to make you so emotional this early in this California morning, but I think it is important to kind of reflect back on that moment. And I just had a podcast last week where the girl said sort of the same thing. Like, I don't think I would take away those mistakes and those attempts, because they molded me to who I am, and I came out of it. So I think there is a little bit of lesson there. And one thing that's really important, if anybody is in crisis right now, please text 741-741. They are there for you. There is support out there. You have to reach out. You are worthy of living this crazy, out of control, beautiful, messy life. We are all worthy of it. And it is finding that little bit of worth. And before we end this, I really want you to tell me, Daniel, if you weren't here, and if that 17-year-old Daniel did go through with it and you weren't here, what would you miss? What would you miss about Daniel? While you think about that, I'm going to tell you what I would miss. Daniel, if you weren't here, I would miss being in the elevator with you and singing our karaoke songs at the top of our lungs. I would miss walking down halls with you and getting people to smile and laugh, because we are both larger than life. I would miss joking with you about tacos and people thinking I'm being racist when I'm not, because you love tacos. And I would miss giving you a hug. I would deeply miss giving you a hug. And I miss you reading my cards. if you weren't here, I would miss Daniel.
What would I miss if I wasn't here? I would miss all the laughter and the tears that I have brought to people through the many ventures that I do. I would miss my tacos because I do love tacos. Being where I am today, I would miss moments like this. I would miss conversations. I am in a point in my life where, whether I'm on camera or in private, I'm comfortable enough in my skin, and I don't just mean physically, but spiritually and emotionally, that I can have an honest conversation and not hold back.
Mm.
I would miss the people around me. My boyfriend, my family, people like you that want me around. Because part of the voices, part of their spiel is nobody wants you.
Mm. They're lying
Nobody
to
needs
us.
you. And I would miss being sarcastic in such tense situations and make people laugh. Being obnoxious, I would miss being tacky when it's not needed. But most of all, I would miss making mistakes in life because they have taught me so much. And I think that's a huge list, but
It's a huge list, but you said so many things that, one thing you said that really stuck out to me is, you would miss being around people who want you around. And I think that's something that's so important. We think that we're a burden and that, people wouldn't miss us if we weren't here. And that's why this project's so important, because letting someone know that you would miss them is such an impactful moment. Telling someone what you would miss if they weren't here, even if you don't think they're struggling, makes somebody feel so good. And I just actually remembered one more thing. I'd miss being able to give you toothpaste. My short little story is Daniel and I were at an event together and he forgot toothpaste, and I had an overnight bag and pulled out about 3 bottles of it as to what he needed.
I was like, "You're such a mom! Here's toothpaste." And I posted a picture of it on Facebook.
Yeah,
I told the story on Facebook.
I think that actually was the epitome of our relationship. Like, you needed something, and I just whipped it out of my bag and was like, "Here you go."
I had to tell people, like, when I first met you, I was kind of like, "Who is this woman?" And she is competition. I need to bring her down. How dare she want to be larger than life? But I so respect all the work that you do, and I admire your passion. And you're one of those people that I am silently in competition with, but like a sibling rivalry. Is like, what is she doing now? Well, damn it, I need to up my game. And I'm staying with my boyfriend in Culver City, and I just come to my apartment in Laguna a couple of days just to get the energy going. And just last night, I posted a video on TikTok about, and it's all over, it's everywhere, my Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, about anxiety and social anxiety and what we're going through right now. And before we go, it puts all the anxiety is right there because we have nowhere to put it out. Even as an agoraphobic, like, I struggle to get out of the house, but once I'm out of the house, I'm like, okay, let's get rid of all this energy.
Yeah.
And so and there's, oh my God, it's like, what do I do? So I recommend it. I said this on the video. Use social media. Get your message out. It doesn't matter if you think it's the most sappiest, saddest, cringeworthy message. Somebody is going to find it and going to go, that's that's my voice.
Yes.
That
You're
that
so right.
person is my voice. And people will start following you. And before you know it, you've made friends that even people say, well, why do you want to be friends with other depressed people? Because they understand me.
Because we get it. We get it. For sure. Well, that's actually a really good piece of advice. So sharing your story
go
is
out
so
there.
sharing your story is really, really important. It's cathartic. It feels good for you, and it really helps somebody listen. Well, Daniel, thank you for sitting in my chair, so to speak, even though the good thing about the coronavirus is I've been able to do this virtually. The bad thing about it is I don't have someone in front of me to hug, and I'm sending you a hug. And I just want to remind everybody who's watching this, if you are in crisis, please text 741-741. Suicide is not the answer. Being surrounded by people who love you is. And find worth in even the smallest things, because that's what gives you so much hope. So thank you so much for joining me, Daniel.
Thank you for having me.